In the spring of 1926, Grover Cleveland Voiers and his wife Cecile Merle, known as Sis, left their home in Natchitoches, Louisiana, to make a new life in Deming, New Mexico. Grover's life-threatening case of emphysema was making it necessary to relocate to a drier climate to improve his chances for a longer life. Grover's doctors felt that he had no more than 6 months to live if he remained in the humid environment of Louisiana. Deming was the community chosen as their new home on the recommendation by Henry Voiers, Grover's older brother. At the time, Henry was living in Roswell, New Mexico, working as a soft drink bottler. He felt Deming would be a great location for Grover to thrive, with business opportunities and a better climate to improve his health. Arriving by train in Columbus, New Mexico, Grover, lying on a cot and being moved on a stretcher, soon made his way with Merle and brother Henry to Deming, where they soon established Voiers Brothers, a wholesale company selling tobacco products, chocolates, and other types of candy. Born to Sis and Grover, and to be their only child, James Henry Voiers was born in the family home in the rear of their store on North Silver Street on January 20th, 1928. Known as Sonny from day one, he began growing up in the family business. In June 1929, with the bottling experience of Henry, Voiers Brothers added soft drinks to their line of wholesale products. Cooking ginger on the stove in the kitchen for their own ginger ale, and bottling root beer in their makeshift plant, they were finding it difficult to keep up with the growing demand for soft drinks. In the early 1930s, they took an initiative and designed their own Voiers Brothers bottle and began selling their own line of flavored drinks under the logo and trademark of Circle V Beverages. The only Circle V flavors that were ever bottled were grape, orange, root beer, and strawberry. These 4 Circle V flavors remained popular well into the 1960s. The Holy Family Parochial School, located at the corner of Birch and Copper Streets in Deming, across the street from Holy Family Church, and Smith School were the homes of Sonny's elementary education from 1933 until 1941. That fall, he began his freshman year at Deming High School. His sophomore year was spent at the St. Michael's Academy boarding school in Santa Fe.
In 1942, I attended St. Michael's School in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I was a resident student. It was a nice school. It was run by the Christian Brothers. To teach you something was their goal, and they did a great job in doing it. And I'm very glad that I did attend it for that 1 year. We had Mass every morning, a benediction every evening, and a study hall following benediction. In those days, the Mass was all in Latin. And if you were good in Latin and all, you could become an altar boy and work your way up to be number 1, which I did. It was wonderful. I enjoyed it. But I went to church every morning, went to benediction every day. So now, today, at my age, I still have enough credits for going to church that much to where I don't have to attend every Sunday. We had a priest there who was really a fine fellow. His name was Father Burris. Well, on Saturday, he had an appointment for the doctor, and he asked me if I would accept a load of wine for the year. And what he was talking about is the Christian Brothers that ran the school there. They had a farm down in Barino, and they had a big winery set up down there, and they made the wine for their churches. And I told him, certainly I'll do it. He said, we just haven't put it in the storage room, but you'll have to sign a ticket on it and keep it for me. I said, I will. Well, I started thinking, golly, I got all that wine. We can confiscate some of it. So I got a hold of Leo Libo, was one of the students, and Eddie Arms, and talked to them about it. Boy, they thought that was great. So when the truck arrived, we put it all in the storeroom, and then they came and got some more students and took a bunch of wine out of the storeroom and put it in their lockers. Well, that was fine and dandy until Father Burris got back and went to get some wine to put in the sacristy. And all hell, Hell, broke loose. I was called on the carpet. I thought they were going to expel me, and I had to beg my way out of that. But all in all, it was a good experience, and I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. But I still don't have to go to Mass if I don't want to. I have credits.
Back in Deming as a junior in 1943, for the remainder of his high school years, Sonny participated in many activities, including band, class plays, student government, and sports, while also working in the family business. Sonny graduated from Deming High School in 1945 and was selected to the New Mexico All-Star football team as a defensive linebacker, offensive guard, and place kicker. As a senior, he played in the 1945 North-South game in Albuquerque. One night, driving back from his candy route,
I was coming back from Hurley, New Mexico in Silver City many years ago, and it was just barely dark. And I was heading home, and I was about 4 or 5 miles south of Hurley, and I saw this flying saucer, as I called it, which is UFO, coming across the country. And it got close to the highway, and my truck stopped, and my lights went out. The machine landed, and this figure got out, all silver, and he started approaching my truck, and he got within about 6-8 feet, stopped, and walked back to his unit, and he didn't have any turnaround. He had an ankle right in the middle of his foot, so he just walked up forward and walked back. And they got in his unit, and they took off, and my lights came on. So then I tried to start my truck, and it started. I couldn't wait to get home, and I got home and told Vida about it, and she said, nobody's going to believe it. I said, well, I'm calling the sheriff. And I called the sheriff, and he came over, and I told him about my story, and he said, yes, he believes it because he'd had a call from Harry Osborne and one of the Hyatts, and on the same thing. And he asked me, he said, what would you have done if he'd opened the door to your unit? I said, well, I was in the company candy truck, and I would have offered him a Mars bar.
Sonny has stuck to this story for the past 60 years, and I have personally heard him describe the encounter exactly the same every time. In 1902, in New Bern, North Carolina, the original Pepsi-Cola company was established, and in 1936, the company approached the growing Voiers Brothers operation with an invitation to become a Pepsi-Cola bottler. In the same year, along with 94 other independent bottlers around the country, Voiers Brothers Bottling became a Pepsi-Cola franchisee. The franchise area covered 5 counties in New Mexico, including Luna, Doña Ana, Sierra, Grant, and Hidalgo, and also 2 in Arizona, Greenlee and Graham, comprising a geographic area which was one of the largest Pepsi-Cola franchises in the country. Voiers Brothers remained at the same location on North Silver Street until moving into their new facility on Pine in 1946. The new bottling plant featured some of the most modern equipment in the industry, and the building itself boasted a full-length glass front to allow the public to view the bottling operation. The employees always looked sharp in their white shirts and blue trousers. The New Mexico College of Agriculture and Mechanic Arts in Las Cruces accepted Sonny's application as an enrolling freshman in the fall of 1945. While in college his first semester, his father passed away. Since his uncle Henry had died a few years earlier, Sonny's college education was cut short when it became necessary for him to return to Deming to join his mother in managing their growing retail business. Being a true believer in the local climate and a Chamber of Commerce type of person, Sonny seldom missed the opportunity to mention that his dad got off the train in New Mexico on a stretcher and enjoyed life for another 19 years. Sonny and his high school sweetheart, Vida Marie Gardner, a cowgirl from Nutt, New Mexico, were married on January 8, 1947. In July of 1948, their first child, son Cleveland, was born, followed in January of 1952 by daughter Vicky and daughter Melanie in June of 1956. In the early 1960s, with 2 franchise counties in Arizona, Sonny was in Safford, Arizona for a few days every 2 weeks. While there, he has always stayed in the same hotel, mainly because of the great television picture that was offered there. Even though the TV signal from Tucson to Safford traveled the same distance as a TV signal from El Paso to Deming, the picture in Safford was far superior. Sonny researched the TV signal discrepancy, and his investigation revealed the fact that the motel in Safford subscribed to a community antenna television system. This type of service wasn't offered in Deming, so he had Blackie Dupree and Fred Smith erect one of the tallest TV antennas in town at his house. As the Pepsi business continued to prosper, Sonny and his mother were most generous within the community and participated in many local activities and events. Their tireless energy, generosity, and steadfast work ethic not only garnered many local, state, regional, and national honors for their hard work, but also gained the respect of those that crossed their paths. Sonny's mother passed away in August 1976 after spending over 14 years in the nursing home, suffering from Lou Gehrig's disease. Business was a high priority in Sonny's life, but so were family and friends. Many summer Sundays after church were spent at Caballo Lake with friends and family. Sonny commented many times, "It seems like half the kids in Deming learned to ski behind our boat, and that's really nice." Deep-sea fishing in Mexico became a passion for Sonny in the 1960s when his Pepsi-Cola distributor in Las Cruces, Walter Roll, suggested they go to Guaymas, Sonora, Mexico to go fishing. Sometime during that trip, the Sea of Cortez became a favorite destination for Sonny, who became an enthusiastic deep-sea fisherman. Sonny was now being called Jaime and participated in many Mexican fishing tournaments where more often than not he won or placed high in the standings, leading to many awards in the tournaments he entered. After many years of staying at the Miramar Hotel in Guaymas, Jaime and Vida purchased a condominium on the beach in San Carlos. Throughout the years, many different boats were towed back and forth to Mexico, and others were eventually dry docked there. Each boat used in the Sea of Cortez was affectionately named Warm Brew, a name that came about when it seemed that each time a fisherman opened a cold beer, a fish would be hooked, and by the time the fish was landed, the beer would be warm. The Voiers family spent many happy times on the water and on the Sea of Cortez beaches. Jaime and Vida had many friends, and most, if not all, were invited to spend time with them in San Carlos at their beautiful condo, frequently entertained by Jaime and Los Suaves, the local mariachis.
Well, I'm going to tell you a little story about 3 men that I became very friendly with. One of them's name was Mitch Dimmich. He's from Billings, Montana, and he was a Pepsi-Cola bottler. The reason I met him was I was a Pepsi bottler, and we were appointed to a committee on the same committee. We bought ventilator vending machines, and the man that was in charge of that was Eldon Majors. And under Eldon Majors, he had a salesman by the name of Bill Witt. And Bill Witt called on me, and also once in a while would get up to Montana. Well, we became real friendly. As they knew that I went to Mexico fishing a lot. So we got together and made a trip. Bill and Mitch came to Deming. We picked up Eldon at Tucson and went on down to San Carlos. And we had a wonderful time, fished and all. We did that every year for 19 straight years. That shows that we had something in common. They were wonderful men, all of them.
The four of them continued the tradition for almost 20 years before age and health came between them and their trip. In 1966, Jaime finally made his move and acquired a great antenna system for his TV. He applied, competed for, and was awarded the franchise for a cable television system by the city of Deming. Sun Cable TV became operational in 1967, and while still running the Pepsi business, he was wearing two hats until he sold the Pepsi operation a year later. The cable TV industry was a new and exciting place to be. Microwave repeaters provided only 2 Los Angeles stations in 1968. And within 10 years, satellite transmission was providing TV stations and programming from around the country. Jaime was intent on providing the best TV to his community, so he made sure that Sun Cable TV was the first cable system in the United States to have 2 satellite receiving antennas. In 1981, the TV viewers of Deming were receiving more broadcast and cable channels than any other city in the western United States. Jaime was a member of a national cable television board that met in Washington, D.C. each quarter. One of his many stories was about a Sunday afternoon in a small lounge at the historic Hay Adams Hotel in Washington, D.C. Paul Newman walked in and sat one stool away, and even though he recognized him, Jaime didn't let on and introduced himself. Mr. Newman introduced himself, and after a few minutes, Jaime asked him what he did for a living. Mr. Newman said he was in the entertainment business. And without a pause, Jaime said, "So am I. Cable TV." Mr. Newman immediately scooted over to the next stool, and they had a great conversation that lasted well into the evening. After selling the cable company in 1980, Jaime had a hard time retiring. He and Vida started and sold several other businesses, including a company providing wireless cable TV to rural areas. They later started Deming Waters, bottling water and wholesaling to grocery and other retail stores and making home deliveries in the area. After selling the water bottling business, they ventured into the water vending business, calling it Life Water, which placed purified water vending machines throughout southwest New Mexico and West Texas. In order to be more centralized in the area of their vending operation, they moved from their home in Deming to the West Mesa in Las Cruces with a beautiful view of the Mesilla Valley. In 1999, after selling the water vending business, Jaime began installing air freshener units in commercial buildings throughout the Southwest and continued until his macular degeneration began to take its toll on his eyesight and forcing him to finally retire in 2005. Jaime's love for music began at an early age while he participated in music classes and band throughout his school years. He became an accomplished saxophone player and continued playing music for many years after high school. He was a member of several bands in Deming and played at local functions throughout the 1950s. The favorite use of his musical talents came about in the 60s when he and his friend, master guitarist Bill Samples, joined up to make music together, and their partnership lasted for over 30 years as they played at private events around the Southwest and also at the Ramada Inn Lounge. In June of 2003, Vida passed away from a short bout with liver cancer. Jaime, now known as Pa, soon moved from the home on the West Mesa to a new home at Trails West in Las Cruces. Living alone at Trails West, he enjoyed his small but comfortable home, spending most of his time with neighborhood friends, new and old. And if he wasn't at the truck stop having coffee with family or special amigos, or at a doctor's appointment, He might be holding court on his front porch, greeting every passerby. And if we didn't find him on the front porch, he might be watching the news, a football game, Wheel of Fortune, or Jeopardy. And if he wasn't watching TV, he was likely having a daily telephone chat with Cleve or the girls. Or he may have been leaning back in his favorite siesta chair, perhaps dreaming about the one that got away in the blue waters of Guaymas, Mexico. James Henry Voiers, a.k.a. Sonny, Chief, Jaime, Pa, lived a wonderful life. The loving husband to Vida, the caring father to Cleve, Vicky, and Melanie. He was a fearless and forward-thinking businessman with world-class wit, charm, timing, and sales savvy. He lived life to its fullest. He touched our lives in so many ways, leaving friends and family throughout the Southwest and Mexico with an unforgettable legacy of good times, great stories, and generosity. Let's celebrate his long life and accomplishments with memories of the wine stash at St. Michael's and the Marjan landing west of Deming, and 100 other tales, mostly true. Like the Righteous Brothers sang in the 70s, if there's a rock and roll heaven, well, you know they've got a hell of a band. St. Peter, how about a rum and Pepsi for your newest band member before the next song begins? Adios, Pa.